Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. And I know I've been doing quite a few videos about Bitwig and the modulators, but I guess I'm still in the honeymoon phase with Bitwig and I'm still having so much fun with these modulators. They probably the single most impressive thing about Bitwig for me. I love playing around with stuff like the grid and whatever, but I'm always surprised at how much you can get done with just a few of these modulators on different things. So the video today, we're going to be taking a look at the sampler because there's a bunch of cool stuff that you can do with the sampler as well, especially when you start modulating things like the playhead and loop sizes and such. So let's dive in. We're just going to kind of go through a bunch of different examples, just make some cool sounds using the sampler and trying some weird stuff with it. The first thing I'm going to do is bring in a sample, just a drum break. Let's bring this one. So I'm just going to bring it on this instrument here. I've just got a part here just playing a note that's going to hold it down. Now, I don't believe the sampler does time stretching from a different tempo. It will do time stretching if you change the mode's texture, for example. It'll keep the time stretched over from its original tempo. If you are bringing in a sample, for example, 125, and we're working at 120, you're probably going to have to drop that into an audio track first, stretch it from there, and then move it into the sampler. Unless I'm mistaken, I haven't found a way to actually time stretch this accurately. I mean, you can adjust the speed here, but it is not the way that I like to do it. I want to just be able to type in the original tempo and have it stretched. So the way I would do it is bring it into the audio, into an audio channel first, and then bring it into the sample afterwards. But we're working at 120, and I've set it to this now. So if we play this back, the sample's playing, and that's all great. So what I want to do now is we're going to enable a loop here first. And I'm just going to grab the initial section here. We can zoom in here, just make sure we've got 0 crossings turned on. And we're just going to kind of grab the first 16th. There we got our loop now, and that sounds great. We can loop out. So what we're going to do now is we want to modulate the loop start point. You can see here. But I want to keep this all in time. And we're going to also play around with the start point offset. Once we add in some extra notes here in a bit. But let's bring in our modulators now. We're going to grab a random modulator. And we can start off by playing around with, let's set this to 16th notes, and we can have this do something like start a mess around with the loop start point. Which is cool. It sounds great. What I also want to bring in here is a quantize. So the quantize will actually allow us to, instead of modulating this one with those 16th notes, sometimes you're getting values that are not exactly on here. So what we can rather do is take this modulator and open up our quantize. We can modulate the input with that. So we modulate 100% or up to 1 with our random mod, and now we can set a resolution for our quantize to 16, which will keep the values quantized at 16 per 100%. So now when we play this back, we're going to modulate the loop start again with this. So we're getting some nice modulation going on there and just moving it around kind of like sort of a random rhythm generator almost. But we can also now bring in the play time as well. Which is cool. So let's also take this a step further now. Let's say, for instance, we're going to start incorporating the envelope into this. What we can do, let's chuck a note and put a note repeat in the beginning here. So now we're going to be generating a note for each 16th. We'll set this to 16th notes. And what I want to be doing with this now, instead of having this set to 16th, we're going to turn this to, let's take poly off, and we'll set this to reset at notes and hold rate of 0. So now every time a note plays, it's going to give us a random amount. You can play around with the modes as well. We'll keep it at repitch for now. So now what we can do is we can actually bring on our envelope, seeing as we're re-triggering that note every single time. So now we can bring down the decay, for example. Let's create another random here. And once again, we'll set this one to hold rate of 0, turn off poly, and we'll re-trigger that at each note event. So we'll get a random decay for each time that note triggers. Then we can also play around further with this. Let's go and add in another random mod here. And I'm going to add in another quantize. So this time around our quantize, we're going to take a random again and we'll regenerate. In fact, this time we're not going to regenerate one each time. We'll just turn off poly again and then set this one to, let's turn off this. We will set this to a quarter note. So each quarter note, it's going to generate a new value for us. And we can then, once again, quantize this random value that we have. Put the input in here again to 1. This time around, though, we're going to set our resolution to 2. So we're essentially going to get a value of 50% speed or 200% speed each time we modulate this. Let's just do this. Modulate our speed, and it should be going both ways now. And let's take a listen to what we get now. And let's shift that over to texture, see what happens there. Pretty interesting stuff going on there. Let's maybe just back this one down again. If you can't get those values just right, then you can just come in here. Do it there. Another thing I like to use is the note counters. So each note, it's going to give us a different value between sort of, you can go from either -1, so you can go sort of unipolar, or the other way around. So maybe if you want to add some auto panning or something here, you could go from -1 to +1. And then you'd have the number of steps, increments that you could do as well. So we could say maybe add some panning. Go with 50% round about there, and you'll see it'll step through the panning now. If you want to just alternate between the two, all you have to do is just bring this down to 2 like that. Just applying a filter envelope now to the filter. And we could use one of these as well to just add a bit of extra randomness to the filter as well. Cool, so some interesting stuff going on there. Let me just bring in a E-kick just to kind of anchor everything. Right, let's play around with another sampler. So I'm going to grab something else here now. Let's go with a vocal sample. I'm going to bring something from my future phonic stuff. There's some recorded voices in here. Just bring in some random vocal sample like this.
Oscillate.
Drop the volume of this one a little bit and take a listen here.
Oscillate, 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 oscillate. Oscillate, oscillate.
Okay, let's work this into cycles. So cycles is basically like a wavetable.
Oscillate, oscillate.
And yeah, it starts to get some sort of tonal qualities there now.
Oscillate, 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 oscillate.
But if we set this to freeze, it's basically going to nullify that speed dial that we have there. You just try it on the sample, yeah. So now we could use this just like a wavetable synth.
We came from infinity in
I'm just going to try and create sort of like a pad out of this rather, so we can just bring in the modulators once again. And let's grab our random modulator. And we will modulate the position of this. In fact, what we can do here is we'll leave this in polyphonic mode so we get different amounts for each one. We're getting different start points for each one, but we can take this a step further as well and bang up the voice stacking to 4. Now I'm bringing a voice stack modifier. Let's see, voice stack modulator. And we can apply this to our cycles or our start points as well. So these will be getting different start points. And let's dial in a little bit of formant for these two. I'm going to get those to move a little bit more as well, so bring in another random as well. This time around we're going to smooth it out though, so let's just go with a bar, I think, and we'll bring this smoother. So we can kind of start turning this into a pad sound. also use our stack modifier to maybe just change the pitch slightly, as well as the panning. Let's bring in some delay plus. Let's turn off our modifier there, our modulator. So beef up the volume slightly. That's great. Here we go. Okay, let's bring that all back in again. Might also just bring in one last random modifier, yeah, or modulator. I keep saying that modifier is a modulator. We'll set this one to hold 0 rate. Polyphonic. We'll go both ways with this one, I guess. We're going to add just a little bit of a different amount of cutoff for each note that gets played in here. Okay. Should be getting my sampler filter frequencies. There we go. I just record something in here. Could also play around with bringing in triggers from outside to modulate this. So we could go with, say, for instance, a note sidechain from the E-kick channel. That's pretty interesting as well. I'm just going to bring in another sample here quickly as well, just try another experiment here. It's just some sort of ambient experiments I did for a sample pack of mine called Architectures. Let's maybe just start the sample over here. And there's a couple of interesting things that you can do, again, with these things in freeze mode. We should actually look at this. You get some really cool sort of vinyl scratching stuff going on here. So obviously when you play this back now, there's no sound because it's set to 0. You've got to manually go through that. I'll show you one little trick with this first. If you want to kind of mimic sort of scratching here, you can again use a random LFO. But notice the default, when you start messing around with the position here, you can set your time. Let's go with 16th notes again. You just hear you're getting little clicks and stuff like that. It's because it's just jumping from position to position the whole time. As soon as you start playing with the smoothing for this random modulator, you start getting some really nice little scratchy bits in here. I should probably have taken a shorter sample for this, but we can just shorten the section. Now we could, again, modulate the smoothing with another random modulator. And set this one to 16ths as well. Have this one modulate the smoothing amount. And I mean, if you were to use like an actual piece of music for this, maybe just take like an actual music loop. Hey, if scratching's your thing, you can do it like that. Let's just come back to our other example that we were going to do. So what I want to get to is another interesting way that you could step through things like this to actually mimic the sort of way that phase works in the grid as well. Now, because you have this freeze mode, we can go to something like texture. So we can assign an LFO to this. We'll just go with the standard LFO should be fine. I'm going to set this to however long we want this to play for. So let's say like a chord and let's say a bar to get through. We want a bar to get through this entire section. And then we can set this to a ramp. Set that to linear. And now we can assign the full length of this position to a bar. So every single time that's going to play, it's going to take up a bar. And we want this to be synced, or we could actually reset at the note as well. And don't want poly, we don't want unipolar. I don't want unipolar. Sorry, unipolar, not bipolar. Now we will play this back now. So now what's happening is this is always going to fit into our loop. So we can still adjust the start and end points. Which is a pretty cool way to fit sort of textures and things time stretched into a section. And then you can still play with this further as well. Let's say, for instance, we want to start stepping through things again. Once again, we can bring back our old friend, the quantize modulator. And we can set the resolution to, let's go with 16ths once again. And we can then, rather than set our playhead to follow the LFO, we can follow the quantizer instead. Have that run through there. And our LFO, we just run into the input of the quantizer. So now you can see it's stepping through each section, and it's going to basically freeze every 16th note. So we'll take a listen now. And let's just get weird with that now and maybe just modulate the grain size as well. I don't know how useful that would be, but it's interesting to say the least. Anyways, I think there's some pretty cool ideas to consider there. I've been playing around with this for ages, and it's just so much fun. There's just all these, even the sort of useless, ridiculous sort of examples like this one, just give you endless ideas for messing around with this kind of setup with modulators, modulating modulators, and start points and end points and loop points and so on. It's just a hell of a lot of fun, especially in the sampler. It's an incredibly capable little sampler, this. It doesn't look like it from the outset, but there's a lot that you can do with this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to support the channel, go and check out the Patreon page. Like I've said before, I've got a bunch of presets up there that you guys can download. It supports the channel. I put all the presets from my videos up there as well. However, I'm not going to load these up because they are sample-based and contain third-party samples. But in most cases, I do upload everything that I do on the channel there for you guys to download. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Till then, take care. Cheers.